I left investment banking 10 years ago to become a rabbi because I realized that I was a billionaire. No, not that kind of billionaire, but a kind arguably more important. I had 1 billion seconds left in my life, actually closer to 2 billion. If we live to 80, and hopefully we will all live far longer than that, but if we live to 80, at 20 years old, you have 2 billion seconds left. By 50, just 1 billion seconds remain. At one point in our lives, we are all billionaires. Some of us who have already lived and enjoyed many decades of our life are now only multimillionaires. All of our accounts are draining, little by little, day by day. I first heard this framework for thinking about what is truly important, what is truly scarce, from the investor Graham Duncan, who insists that time, not money, is our greatest asset. And of course he is right. No matter how many digits we have in our brokerage accounts, we can't buy more time. So each and every year on this holiday, we ask for God's help for more time. We ask to be written and sealed in the book of life. Knowing that I wouldn't be a billionaire forever, I realized I wanted to stop digging into the books of public companies and devote my life to the book of our people. In the Torah that June and Micah just chanted so beautifully, we read a profound message for this holy day of Yom Kippur. Hachaim v'hamavet netati lefanecha, habracha v'haklala, uvacharta b'chaim. God says, I set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Uvacharta b'chaim. Choose life, that you and your offspring may live. It is not just up to God to write us into Sefer HaChaim, to choose life for us. We must choose how we spend our moments. Choosing life is about more than simply staying alive. It is about how we live each day. And the person who taught me the most about this was a 28-year-old young man named Aaron, who had battled cancer for 3 years, but was now close to the end. Unlike all the other multi-billionaires his age, Aaron knew that every finite moment he had left was of almost infinite worth. A few weeks before he passed away, he told me that the only one good thing to come out of his cancer is that while most people put their lives on hold thinking we have the luxury to do things later, Aaron said, quote, once I got my diagnosis, I realized I wasn't going to put off anything anymore. Despite the immense pain that he was in, Aaron resolved to live as much as he could in whatever time he had left. Aaron loved to scuba dive, and after he was diagnosed, he encouraged his twin brother Sam to learn too, so that they could go adventure together. Even after multiple surgeries and with a feeding tube, he and Sam traveled to Mexico to go diving, determined to see all that this planet, all that this life had to offer. A skilled undersea photographer, Aaron took beautiful pictures to share with his friends back home. And Aaron and Sam's home was always filled with friends. His whole life, even before his illness, he had a way of making you feel like you mattered, like he loved being in your company. Aaron built so many friendships on his adventure through life, and I'm honored to call myself one of them. On that trip to Mexico, Aaron took this picture, which I keep in my study to remind me of all that he taught me. When Aaron's health deteriorated and he could no longer travel, he decided to take up, of all things, rock climbing. And once he was too weak to climb, even in his last days, Aaron would ask to be woken up in the middle of the night if there was a thunderstorm, so that he could go sit on the porch and listen and watch, still in awe of the beauty and wonder of this world, of life. Viewed on a bookshelf, the book of Aaron's life was far too short, but the way that he chose to fill its pages with pictures and memories and experiences with the people he loved most, what a story he leaves behind. What a life Aaron lived. Too often we spend our seconds carelessly, as if we will be billionaires forever. And yet when we look our mortality squarely in the face, we might realize that a different investment strategy is called for. The question is, what is the right portfolio allocation for a meaningful life? New York Times columnist David Brooks offers one way to think about this, categorizing the virtues that guide how we live into two buckets, what he calls, quote, resume virtues and eulogy virtues. And Brooks defines the two. Quote, the resume virtues are the ones you bring to the marketplace. The eulogy virtues are the ones that are talked about at your funeral. Whether you were kind, brave, honest, or faithful, were you capable of deep love? End quote. No doubt our resume virtues are important. We have bills to pay and mouths to feed, and it is through our resume virtues that we put food on the table for ourselves and for our families. And through our careers, our work, we help other people in real and meaningful ways. Whether we heal people's bodies as doctors or nurses, whether we build companies or smartphone apps or finance their creation, whether we add beauty to people's lives as artists or interior decorators. Our work makes a real contribution to the world. And yet, as we reflect on the people that we want to be in this year ahead, most of us wish we spent more time on our eulogy virtues. Are we a good parent, a dutiful daughter or son, a loyal or caring friend? Do we waste too much time on things that don't really matter? We know that someday people will recount our lives at our funerals. Are we living out the story that we want them to tell? 10 years ago today, according to the Jewish calendar, I was sitting in services on Yom Kippur. We were reading the prayer, the Unatan Tokef, who shall live and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age and who shall not? Who shall perish by fire and who by water? Who by sword and who by beast? Who by earthquake and who by plague? I thought about how someday my own life would come to a close. I remember looking up to the bima and seeing my childhood rabbis and thinking to myself, Jeff, you have always wanted to be a rabbi. I wanted to deepen my connection to this ancient tradition that every generation of my ancestors had lived by and passed down. I wanted to try and inspire other people, to show them that Judaism can add so much meaning to our lives and inspire them to go out into this world and make it better. I wanted to be there for the happy moments, the weddings, the births, the growing up, but also for the sad times, the diagnoses, the divorces, the death. I liked the business world. I found my job exciting and challenging, and I loved the people that I worked with. But in that moment, I knew that I didn't want to wake up in 30 years and not have done what I'd always dreamed of doing. I knew how I wanted to spend my remaining seconds, moments, years, no matter how many I had left, being the person that I wanted to be. I'm so grateful to have found this path. Not everybody has a dream, and certainly not everyone gets to live theirs out. If we did, there would be a lot more astronauts and NBA stars here with us today. But fulfilling our dreams does not mean we have to change careers. Living out our eulogy virtues looks different to each one of us. Some of us want to venture beneath the waves or ascend the highest mountain peaks. Others may want to work so hard so that their children can enjoy all of life's simple pleasures. like the pitter-patter of the rain and the crash of thunder outside our window. And other people may just want to help others, help their neighbor with a smile, a kind word, or a favor whenever they get the chance. No matter how we choose to spend our days, how we write our stories, the lesson of Yom Kippur is to choose with kavanah, with intention, how to live a life well lived. And on Yom Kippur, we learn this lesson by confronting our mortality, and not just by asking God to seal us in the book of life. The whole day of Yom Kippur is really a dress rehearsal for death. For one day, we leave all of our bodily needs behind. Like a corpse, we refrain from food or drink and the pleasures of the flesh. Traditionally, we dress in all white, like a burial shroud. The question is not, as the Unatana Tokef asks, who will die? These holidays remind us that we will all die. And then what happens next? Well, as you may know, Judaism doesn't have a lot to say about the afterlife. It's much more focused on what we do in this life. But there is a Talmudic discussion about the questions that we will be asked at the gates of heaven, about how we live in this life, in this world. We won't just be judged for our good deeds and our misdeeds, but for all the good that our eyes saw, but of which we didn't eat. In other words, God will ask us, did you enjoy the fruit of my world? Did you truly live every precious moment, even though I granted you billions of them? That is precisely why the early rabbis chose this Torah reading for Yom Kippur. Uvaharta bechaim, choose life. Precisely because we are going to die, we must truly live with the limited time we have. Are we spending our time doing things that really matter with the people who really matter? Are we leaving the mark that we want to on this world? If not, Yom Kippur reminds us we still have time to turn, to change our course. According to our tradition, the gates of Teshuvah, the gates of repentance and returning to the right path, they remain open until Nila, until the very end of Yom Kippur. God can still change God's minds, can cross our names out from the book of death and write us in the book of life. But we have that power too. God is not the only author. We write our own stories. We can never know how many pages the Sifrei Chachaim, the books of our lives, will number. How many of those billions of seconds remain? But we can learn from Aaron, that eternally 28-year-old, who had so much to teach and so much to live. Like Aaron, we can fill our pages with adventures, with friends and loved ones, with awe for the gift of life and every moment we are granted. Living out our eulogy virtues, we can choose life every day. In the words of 11th century Rabbi Bachya ibn Pekuda, Ki hayamim megilot, kadvu behem shemata techatzu sheyizacher lachem. Days are scrolls. Write on them what you want to be remembered for. Gamar chatima tova. May we all be sealed in the book of life.